Up to this point, the Romulans have consistently attempted to manipulate events in the background, often playing the victim. The Star Empire would soon go into seclusion after a rather bloody incident. That was, until they decided to make their presence known in the 24th century. As we've discussed, the Romulans have historically had an approach that was more focused on subterfuge. We do know that they had some presence on the planet Nimbus with no effect. The next time they'd be seen, they would be included in an attempt with Starfleet and Klingon elements to start a war between the Klingons and the Federation. Though ironically, this didn't seem to cause any issues between Starfleet and the Star Empire, even though they almost stopped peace talks. But that's a conversation for another time. History after the Khitomer Accords, until TNG at least, is somewhat dicey, but we do know that during that time, an event named the Tomed Incident occurred. This occurrence was a confrontation that resulted in the loss of thousands of lives. It led to the Treaty of Algeron, which required the withdrawal of the Romulan government for a time, and included that the United Federation of Planets would never create a cloaking device. The neutral zone was also updated, and now, prior notice would be required before either power could enter into it, else it would be considered an act of war. Stay tuned in the episode for more on that. 53 years later, the Federation began to lose outposts and star bases along the neutral zone. Reminiscent of what had happened with Captain Kirk, the bases just seemingly disappeared without any warning. The USS Enterprise D would be dispatched to determine the cause. The way Picard treats the Romulans here is starkly different from how Kirk dealt with them in years past. In the first encounter, again involving Kirk, it was determined that the Romulans must be struck and struck hard, lest they be given reason to believe that the Federation was weak. The same fear did occur here. Riker believed the Romulans were again testing the Federation to see how advanced Starfleet had become. However, instead of attacking, Picard was given advice by Counselor Troi that the Romulans were more a move-counter-move species at this point. They react, not act. Picard utilized this advice and did not strike when given the opportunity. His actions would most likely prevent a war as it opened the Romulans up to conversation. Interestingly, the cloaking device of the Romulans had been far improved, as they would now be able to choose whether the Enterprise could detect them while cloaked or not. Also, while this is not a breakdown of the TNG episode I'm referencing, called The Neutral Zone, I will say that I find it curious that Worf says that the Klingons and Romulans had been allies until the cowardly attack of the Romulans upon Khitomer. This suggests that there had been a deep alliance between the Klingons and Romulans in the past. However, we have no real evidence of how close they were as allies beyond inference and this specific line. Back to the episode, through research, Picard and his crew determines that the loss of the colonies and starbases was not done by the Romulans, but an unknown force. Also, the Romulans advised that they had lost their colonies as well. Both sides would agree to work together, however the Romulans would leave Picard with a vague threat that the Romulans had, quote-unquote, returned. We'll discuss how the Federation almost starts another war and doesn't care about the treaties, even the ones it creates, after this. Hey guys, if you like the Lore Reloaded and want to continue to see it prosper, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/Lore Reloaded. If that's not your thing or you want to wear something cool, consider wearing some Lore Reloaded swag. This month's shirt is the War Canoe. Or if you hate Patreon for its politics, consider giving a one-time donation or even setting up a monthly donation through PayPal. Links to this and more in the description below. Now let's just get back into it. The next encounter with the Romulans involves Starfleet doing everything it could to start a war. The USS Yamato, discovering the Iconian homeworld in the neutral zone, decided to enter into the neutral zone. Again, an act of war. To get weapons before the Romulans discovered that they were there. This is, of course, antithetical to everything Starfleet claims to be and stand for, but since you guys are going to be pragmatic versus looking at how Starfleet is in universe, We'll ignore it for now. After researching Iconian tech, the Yamato began to have issues with its systems and sent an SOS. The USS Enterprise D responded and arrived to assist. It would be in vain, as the Yamato would explode and a Romulan warbird then decloaked. Captain Picard challenged the commander and asked if she had destroyed the vessel. Picard has the gall, the utter idiocy, to ask the commander why she was in the neutral zone, as well as asking if she had destroyed a ship that had committed an act of war. Remember, both the Enterprise and Yamato had been there first. And when the commander points this out, states that she didn't destroy the ship and demanded that Picard leave, he states he won't until he is sure the Yamato wasn't destroyed by the Romulans. Are you fucking kidding me? Starfleet has all but declared war on the Romulans, broken their own treaty, and yet people tell me I'm wrong when I say the Federation doesn't do what they say they're going to do. We see this even in the Dominion lore series. If they want to be somewhere, they don't care about the treaty, and yet the show tries to tell us the others are the bad guys. Not only were the Romulans absolutely in the right to destroy the Yamato had they done it, because it was committing an act of war, but the fact that the Romulan ship cloaked and didn't fire on the Enterprise D is showing an amazing amount of restraint. The fact that Picard stays shows that Starfleet only listens to its own principles when it suits them. This is even more egregious when the Enterprise determines it wasn't the Romulans and they still stay exactly where they are. I get it that they are staying because they are worried the ship will explode. They don't know if it's a mechanical failure yet. But it is Picard's duty to prevent a war, even if it means the lives of everyone on that ship. This is why you don't have families on a military vessel. Now, ultimately, we know that the Yamato and Enterprise begin succumbing to viruses that will also impact the Romulan starship. The Enterprise heads deeper into the neutral zone without talking to the Romulans, and when the Romulans attempt to destroy them, they can't. Again, I won't get into the episode, you really should see it, but ultimately let's focus on the end where Picard and crew figure out how to stop the virus. When the Romulan warship is still working on a fix and is about to explode, the first thought that Picard has is to get the Enterprise away, not save the Romulan crew. This is not Picard. This is not how Picard would act. Again, Starfleet officers would give their lives to assist others. They don't even consider attempting to save the crew. But it's all for naught because it's Riker that decides to save them and sends over how to stop the virus, and then gets the hell out of Dodge instead of staying to see if they still need to assist in evacuation. I think it's vital just to look at all this at the moment. 50-some years after the TOMED incident, the Romulans begin losing star bases and colonies. They then encounter 2 Galaxy-class starships in the neutral zone, the most powerful ships the Federation can currently make, and don't call them on committing an act of war. One Galaxy class is destroyed, the other refuses to leave the neutral zone, in fact even going deeper into the neutral zone, and ultimately the Enterprise D is about to leave the Romulan warship for dead. But truly, it's the Romulans that are the evil ones up to this point. We'll get into more interactions between the Federation and Romulans on the next one.